Hi everyone, welcome back to the fourth episode of Ivy Off Script, where we share the unconventional journeys of Harvard students to elite spaces. Today I am joined by Sophia Khan. So for background context, Sophia is my current roommate. And yeah, just obviously learning about her as being her roommate, I was really excited to have her on the podcast.
She knows too much about me.
I know a little bit too much, but we're gonna really just talk about her journey to Harvard today. So, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Sophia. I am a sophomore here at the college. What's a good thing to know? I am the oldest of four, so I have three younger siblings. I grew up in a military family, so my dad is in the Air Force. He's been in the Air Force, I think, 26 years now, 27 years. And so most of my earliest memories have been living in spaces for 2 years, 3 years, and then moving. So I think that's something I start with and something I lead with, I think, because it really has shaped who I am. And, moving every 2 to 3 years when you're 10 years old it changes the way you go about making friendships, and it changes the way that you approach friendships to begin with. One of my things I talk about, I think I even mentioned it in my essays, that I never got to hang things on the wall because I couldn't leave holes in the wall due to rental properties or whatever, and my parents being like, no, I don't want to have to patch it up when we move again. So I never got to really decorate my room and make it truly mine, because it was just always 2 years, we're gonna move again. So I think that's really shaped who I am today. So that's why I bring it up in my introduction. But I am also half German. My mom is German and my dad is from Bangladesh, so I'm half Bengali, which is an interesting combination. And I'm also from moving all over the place. I was born in Colorado, and I spent the rest of my years basically transitioning from Colorado to Virginia, Northern Virginia area, DC, and back and forth. I was in Rhode Island for 1 year, which was really fun. But yeah, I mean, that's just my standard introduction. Yeah.
Okay. I guess going back to when you were 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
how did moving affect your outlook on what life would look like in adulthood?
Well, as a 10-year-old, I told myself I would never, ever join the military because this is terrible. I'm now in the Space Force, so that didn't really go well. So I think as a 10-year-old, like I said, it definitely does change the way you go about approaching friendships. And you look around and everybody has these lifetime friends that they've had from, whether it be from their neighborhood and they've been going to preschool together. Now they're in 8th grade and 9th grade together. And I just never had that. And I'm not one to complain about it, because I do truly believe that, having that sort of sense of, okay, if I make this friend now, let's make it as valuable as possible, but it's not end all be all if I'm not friends with them forever. And I think that really gave me an upper hand when I came into college, of people were leaving their hometown friends that they've had since 3-4 years old, versus I moved my senior year of high school, and I think moving senior year was just preparation for what college is going to be like, where I'm meeting new people. And I have to sort of just establish myself again, and I definitely did have really good friends freshman and junior year, and then I moved, and obviously with calling and texting, it's nice to stay in contact, but it's different. It's definitely different. And so I think now I don't have this expectation of if I don't find my forever people, or if this friend is my friend today but they're not my friend in a week, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. You're basically saying if we're not friends for life,
it's fine. It's okay. But you will be at my wedding.
So no, of course. Yeah. Okay, so did you ever voice your concerns or frustrations to your parents?
Oh, constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was their response?
Constantly. I mean, I'd be I don't want to move. I think the hardest move was probably after 8th grade. So I did 7th and 8th grade at a middle school in Northern Virginia area. And I had made really good friends. I was in the band. I was really starting to get into this world of, here are the extracurriculars you should be doing. And so I was going to be going to a high school in the Northern Virginia area, and all my friends were going to be going as well. So I was obviously really heartbroken when my parents told me I was going to be moving. So I think that was a really hard move, and I told my parents, I was like, dude, like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is so sad. And my parents toyed around with the idea of, like, maybe we can stay here. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we were like, we're better as a family. And so when I moved to my high school in Colorado, where I did 3 years there, we were all together, and it ended up actually being a really phenomenal time. And that high school, I went to Air Academy High School at the on the Air Force Academy base, was truly like just how do I word it? Like the wind underneath my wings. Truly, they set me up for success and opened a door of opportunities that I don't think I would have gotten at the other high school. And so I think that goes to the point of, like, at the time you may be really sad about something and you may be really worried that, oh, this isn't the right thing. But then looking back, it always ends up working out.
Okay, so now I want to talk more about your high school journey. So you're reflecting on that 9th through 11th grade experience at that school. You said that there's a lot of opportunities. What did those opportunities look like, and how did you select amongst them? Because obviously you're limited on time, you're studying as well. So, like, what did you actually choose to pursue?
Yeah. So I think my personality type is very, like, I want to be doing something at all times. If I have too much time to think, it's not good. So I think that's just the type of person I am, is I'm always seeking out new opportunities. And so I guess I went into high school knowing that there are certain things that, colleges or high, like elite Ivy League colleges are looking for, these types of things. And so it was always in the back of my head, maybe, especially freshman and sophomore year. I remember I'd tell people, like, yeah, my dream school is Stanford. And so over time, that perspective kind of changed, and I'll talk about that later. But my extracurriculars themselves, I started off in the marching band. So I was very much a marching band, speech and debate nerd. So that was where I spent most of my time, in the marching band. I had a phenomenal marching band. I think people oftentimes, will shit on the marching band, but I had a phenomenal time. It was a great community, and we were also actually good, which was like,
that helps.
We had a purpose of, like, why we were practicing. And then speech and debate. What else did I do? So then towards the end of my sophomore year, I started thinking about, what should I be studying? What are my interests? And throughout that process, I stopped thinking about what do colleges want to see, and I started thinking more about, okay, what makes sense for me, and what have I done so far that, like, is new, or maybe this is a new thing that interests me, and maybe it built off of something I've previously done. But what I mean by that is, like, I started a club in, I think, sophomore year or junior year. It's called the Inquisitive Dreamers, because I found that a lot of conversations I was having with my friends were very, like, philosophical, or like, like, what is the meaning of life? Like, maybe that's a little bit too broad, too extreme, but we were like, like, what is the purpose of being this stressed? Like, what do we want out of our lives? And these sort of, like, questions that I don't think a lot of 15, 14-year-olds were having at the time. And so I started this club to sort of be a safe space for people to talk about some things that they have on their mind constantly. And that gradually turned into what was called a mindful moment club. So it wasn't a club, but it was eventually became part of the school program, where I would go on in the morning to morning announcements, and I would do a word of the day or a quote of the day. And so that sort of philosophical club turned into a more mindfulness of, like, how to mitigate stress that you're going through. And I was obviously a very stressed student with my AP classes, my honors, again, speech and debate, marching band, whatever. And so I found sort of this safe place in mindfulness. And so that became, like, my true passion project. That became sort of my why I'm doing this and what I think is important to me. And then I did that alongside with a lot of biology things. So I ended up joining a Michigan, I'm forgetting what it was called exactly, but it was like a coding class, computational biology class that I took over the summer, and started really getting into, like, biology. I took AP biology. It was my first ever B that I ever got. And it ended up teaching me a lot. And so that was like, I had a phenomenal teacher. That was my point of like, okay, I think I might want to pursue this. I think I might want to do this. So a lot of my clubs ended up being centered around like biology, my internships, things like that.
Okay, wow. So you started a club called Inquisitive Dreamers.
Yes.
What were the challenges of starting that club? Like, was there immediate interest, or did you really have to like rally people to like attend the club?
I definitely had to rally. People were like, "What is this?" They were like, But
they're going down it's probably like STEM club, girls empowerment, Inquisitive Dreamers.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely. I did. What's it called? Bribe people to come with pizza. I said, first meeting we're gonna be having pizza. So we definitely had a good turnout. But like I said, eventually like we had a couple meetings. Had like pretty consistent people. Most of them ended up being my friends. But at the end of the day, for me, it wasn't like, oh, this club needs to be like the best thing to ever happen. It was really just, I enjoy doing this with my time. This is how I spend my lunch, and this is I like doing this. And so I think the challenges with that was gaining support from my peers, and maybe they didn't understand the same vision. But I think that's why I changed, because my vision was really, I want to help students. I want to be able to be a stress reliever, like not therapy, but like let's just not talk about school and let's just talk about everyday things, right?
Something bigger than just
school and stressors, exactly. And so that's why I ended up shifting gears to, how can I hit the whole school? How can I make sure that I'm impacting the whole school? And even if it was short and sweet, just a simple, here's the word of the day, what does it mean to you? Less than 2 minutes on the morning announcement after the Pledge of Allegiance. And people loved it. They really did. So that was...
what was your favorite quote?
Oh, my favorite quote. That's a good question. I had an Instagram page as well. I would say, it wasn't a quote, but there's this concept called wabi-sabi. And so it's actually like, it's concept, but it's also turned into art now. So it's this concept of like, if you have a bowl and you crack it, instead of throwing away the bowl, you're able to glue the pieces back together with like gold glue. And so it's like a black bowl. If you search up like wabi-sabi art, it's a black bowl and there's gold art that's basically gluing together the cracks. And so it looks like an art piece. And the idea is being able to find beauty in imperfections and being able to, like you can apply it to yourself and say, nobody's perfect, but I'm still finding beauty in myself, right? Like even day to day, there's imperfections in everything we do, everything we see, but there's still beauty in that, and being able to live with yourself and being able to be okay with that. That was something that really, it was like my background screen for a while too. It was like just the word and like just that constant reminder of like, you don't have to be perfect. There's beauty in being imperfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I saw that on your desk.
Yes, I still have a little postcard of.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I know wabi-sabi from somewhere. And I think it's me sitting at your desk. Maybe that's why. Okay, and then going to AP Biology, you get a B.
Yeah.
Is that like devastating, or are you thinking like, oh my god, my shots of getting into competitive school are broken? Like, what was your mindset around getting a grade that wasn't an A?
Yeah, so I think I quickly changed my perspective from being like, oh my god, it's the end of the world, to how can I learn from this and how can I be better? And so I think I ended up getting like a 4 on the exam. And so I went from a B first semester to an A in second semester. And my biggest like takeaway was really this class, my teacher like truly shaped what I did for the rest of my life. Like I'm now bioengineering, so it definitely was, it was difficult, but that challenge led me to my passion. And so looking back, that's what I think of. At the time, I was definitely terrified, and I was like, oh my gosh, this has never happened before. I don't know, I can't really speak. I don't think I was like freaking out. I also feel like I was just very like, I think my mindset for a while has just been everything always works out. Like everything always works out, especially now in college too. I even think that more so. But I think it's daunting as a high schooler when you think that there is this like, algorithm of I need to do this certain thing and I need to get these certain grades so that I can get into Harvard or Stanford or wherever. And And that's just not the truth at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how would you say being the oldest sister of 4 shaped your high school experience? Or just, I guess, your character development?
Yeah. I don't know. They were kind of just there, like, I'm gonna be
you're
so
the big duck and they're the little
yeah.
ducks.
I'm gonna be so honest with you. So my youngest, like, my closest sister in age to me is 4 years younger. So there's still like a pretty
That's
big,
a really big age gap.
yeah. And then it's 6 years younger and 8 years younger. So they're much like younger than me.
8 years.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like shocked hearing that.
So, I think the only thing that maybe like shaped me, like obviously, like I think siblings, we really came together when it came to these moves. Like we were there for each other, and we were always like our own little friend group. So even if we didn't have friends at school, it was like we always, like, my brother and I are really close. I'm close with all my siblings, but my brother and I got really close. And I would say probably their memories of me is just me being in my room, like, studying or doing something, and they're, like, wanting to do something. I'm like, I can't, I'm sorry, I can't do anything with you right now. But I would say I made up for that, because now when I go back to visit for a break, now that I'm in college, I spend so much time with them. So I don't feel as bad.
Yeah. And so you were in the marching band, you were doing speech and debate, you created this club, did the morning announcements. Were those, like, your main activities at the time, or were there other things that you were also doing?
I think those were my main activities. Yeah, because junior year, it was that club, it was marching band, speech and debate. Junior year summer is where it really jam-packed a lot of, junior year summer, where it jam-packed a lot of extracurriculars. So that summer, before that summer, so I'm half German. I have family in Germany, I speak German, so my mom was like, hey, like, we should go to Germany. But obviously, junior year summer, that's, like, kind of, like, your last chance to really, like, show who you are and make that impression. But I also was just, like, super interested. I was getting more interested in biology. And so I cold emailed a professor, or I guess he's, like, a principal investigator, like a researcher. And I cold emailed him. I said, hey, like, I cold emailed a bunch of people, but I cold emailed him, and he responded back to me saying, like, yes, we'd love to have you. And I basically just said, hey, like, this is not paid for at all. I'm basically volunteering. Would I be able to shadow your lab and just, like, see what goes on day to day and what your projects are? So I did that for 2 weeks at that lab. It was an awesome experience. I still talk about it. And actually this past summer I went back to that lab again. So those connections lasted me for a while. And then afterwards I went to another lab. So I did 2 weeks at this, like, wet lab, which is, like, more hands-on. I don't know how to explain it. Wet lab with, like, syringes and, like, actual cells, like, working with actual tissues. And then I did a computational 2-week internship as well with another professor who offered to shadow me, and I didn't enjoy that as much, but that's okay, because I learned that, hey, this isn't for me, or at least right now.
I think that's important, because I feel like, especially in high school, you feel like you're wasting time if you do something
Yeah.
that you don't like. But I think high school is the best time to experiment, because you're not paying to get a degree in that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's when you should try things, and then if
Yeah.
you don't like it, it's just a redirection.
Absolutely. That's what I tell people all the time. Like, I tried fencing for a little bit, didn't enjoy it. It wasn't really my thing. Because I literally tried it for, like, a month or two, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore. But 100%, like, I think going out and trying new things, and if it doesn't work, like, it's not a time wasted. It really is just redirection of maybe you try something else next time. So I did that, and then this was in Germany. This was a lab in Germany. And what else did I do? I know I did something else. I was also simultaneously doing an online program with Michigan University for, it was like it was hosted by the Harvard Women Engineers Society or whatever, and it was also another, like, coding club, learning how to use, we were using, like, R programming, if anyone's familiar with that. So I was working basically, like, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., navigating Berlin, navigating transportation. I was, like, 17, coming back. I was in an apartment with my mom, and then logging in until 11 p.m. because of the time difference to do this online class. So it was very, very like jam-packed. And then I flew directly from Berlin when my internships were done there. I flew directly from Berlin on my first flight by myself to Boston, and my dad met me in Boston, and I did the Harvard Summer School program. So it's just the 2-week one where you don't get any course credit, but you essentially like take one college course. I think it's like 10 courses, 3-hour class every single day. I was living in Lowell, so that was my first ever experience of any college. I was eating in Annenberg, so that was my first ever like college experience. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like if this weren't Harvard, I would love to go here. Like I just love the environment. Everything is just so beautiful. Like I really fell in love with the campus. And maybe I just fell in love with the college life, but it definitely was. I remember telling my dad, like, dude, if this wasn't Harvard, like I would go here in an instant.
And why do you like explain the phrase like if this wasn't Harvard?
Well, because I never thought I'd get in. Like I mean I think I maybe was like, so basically by my end of junior year, senior year, I kind of stopped thinking like, oh, Stanford's my dream school. My mindset soon shifted to my dream school is University of Michigan, which is by no means any easier. It's still an incredibly competitive, very competitive school, especially out of state. So, but I was like, my dad's a big Michigan fan, and so I grew up also like Go Blue, watching the Michigan games, and then when I started actually looking into like, okay, shoot, like what colleges do I actually want to go to, I was like, Michigan is like checking all my boxes. Like it's it was for the longest time my dream school. So my mindset shifted to from like, oh, Stanford and Harvard to like, I want like something like University of Michigan. I want something like University of Maryland or like UVA, like not Ivy League, still like very high achieving, of course, but like CU Boulder or Purdue or like some of the ones that I applied to. So I'm forgetting what your question was.
Oh, just like the phrase like not Harvard.
Oh,
and it was because of your mindset.
Yeah, because I think when I went to the summer school program, I was going into my senior year, so it was my junior year summer. I don't think at the time I was thinking like, oh yeah, I wanna apply to Harvard. Like I don't think I had that in my mind at the time. So I think that's all. And then realistically, I was just like, oh, there's no way I'd ever get it. So
right, and then you ended up applying for restricted early action at Harvard. So
yeah,
what happened in between that time?
Right, between that time. So I remember actually one of my friends that I met at the summer school program, she actually also ended up getting in. And I remember sitting on, I think the Common app opened like August 1st of our senior year or something. Yeah. So people were like, oh my God, I want to have my personal essay done by then and all this stuff. And I was like, I don't even know what a Common app is. I was like,
oh my God, wait, same. Yeah. I didn't touch the Common app until like October.
Yeah, no.
Really late.
Yeah, I was like, I think I like, maybe like a couple weeks after I was like, okay, like let me like start to see like what this looks like. Which by the way, the Common app is phenomenal. I don't know how people feel about it, but I loved it. Like just putting in all my information, and then just applying like directly to schools. I think it's a great process. But yeah, so I met one of my closest friends there, and then she ended up getting in. But the story goes, I moved my senior year, so I moved from Colorado. Finished my junior year. I was expecting to go back. I had my senior parking lot.
I forget that you guys drive to school.
Yeah, we were driving to school. We had our senior parking lot. So it's a very like traditional. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of schools do that, but Colorado was huge at like painting your senior year, like very senior year pride, like just going all out. And I was really excited for that. I had a great group of friends. And then one day my dad comes into my room. He's like, "So, what do you think about moving?" And I was like, "What?" What? What do you mean? I was like, what? No. So, yeah, so he did end up moving me across the country. But it ended up being phenomenal. I reconnected with one of my friends from 8th grade. Shout out Riley. So, so I got really, really close again with one of my friends I had from 8th grade. But this was all happening simultaneously. I was also in Berlin, so I wasn't there actively when my family like moved across the country. I was in Germany, and then I flew back, and I basically never went back to Colorado. I never got to say bye to my friends. Like, I never had that like closing chapter or whatever. So I flew back to Boston, and then from Boston after the summer program, I went back to DC, and I was like, all right, this is my new life. Also, while I was trying to, like, figure out, like, college applications and, like, where I'm going to apply and, like, what it even looks like. So it was a really hard time. And then plus I definitely had a hard time adjusting senior year. I wasn't used to the people. It was a different type of environment. Like,
how did it differ? Like, was it academically more competitive, less?
So much more competitive. I mean, people at this, like, other school, I mean, DMV is notorious for it, but at this school it was very much, like, everyone's striving for Ivy Leagues, or everyone
senior year?
Yeah, everyone's striving for, like, the top schools. So it was very cutthroat. Like, that's why I say, and
did people show it?
I think so. I think it just kind of happens, you know, like, you see all these people, it's like, oh yeah, I do this, and, like, at my other school, people were very content with I go to class, I'm in soccer, and I'm gonna apply to college, and whatever happens. Like, people weren't, and I don't think that's a bad thing, like, at all. I'm not trying to say that's a bad thing, but people never were like,
it's very different from.
It's very different. It's a very different lifestyle. It's a very different mindset. So there was definitely, like, that difference off the bat, and then my story of how I ended up applying to Harvard is my dad had talked to me, or my parents had talked to me about ROTC. So my dad wanted me to apply to the military academies, and I was like, look, Dad, I love you, but that is not for me. So, like, the Naval Academy, Air Force Academy, I was like, that's not for me. But he told me about the ROTC program, which I hadn't heard about. I'd only ever heard about JROTC. And so I looked more into it, and there's actually, like, a scholarship that you can get to, as a high schooler, to any school, and it's a scholarship for any school, and the terms and conditions is that, you know, you do 4 years undergrad, and then you're also doing your military training, and then afterwards you serve 4 years in the military. And so I was like, you know what, like, let me just apply to the scholarship. My dad was like, just see what happens, you know, if it works out, it works out, if it doesn't, it doesn't. So I went through that application process, and I found out, like, maybe October 21st or the 23rd, like, I found out pretty late in terms of, like, when I was applying to all the early action schools, which was due, like, what, November 1st?
Yes.
October 31st or something. So I found out probably, like, a week, maybe less, before applying to all these schools. So obviously, like, as soon as I found out that I got the scholarship, I went back to my Common App and I put it in as, like, my awards section. I mean, it's a big deal, you know, that you have this huge scholarship.
Can you explain what the application process of the ROT scholarship looks like and how competitive it is?
Yeah. I think it's slightly changing, but it's for whatever branch, so Navy ROTC, Army ROTC, Air Force ROTC. So I applied to the Air Force ROTC. I believe there's like a whole, it's like a online, there's a whole application site. So it's its own thing. Has nothing to do with, like, college affiliated. It's just like, apply to this. I know there's, like, an interview process that holds, like, a majority of the weight of, like, if you do well in the interview, and then you upload, like, your achievements, your transcripts, your SAT or ACT, whatever. But it's, like, very, very separate from college. And I can't speak on the selectivity because I think it's also changing, but it's definitely, like, fairly selective.
Yeah. Well, they're making you upload all those.
Yeah.
Like, it's a benchmark.
Yeah, for sure. But no, so I found out that I received that, and I think it was by that time maybe 3 days before the application for EA. And so I was only applying to public schools. So Harvard actually ended up being the only private school that I applied to. I applied to only public schools, and I had, as my dad calls it, like, one throwaway school of, like, just shoot your shot. Worst comes to worst, you don't get it, right? Like, it is what it is. And so he was like, which one do you want to do? Like, what school? And I was like, I have no idea. He was like, pick one. He was like, just pick one. And I was like, okay, I'll just do Harvard, whatever. So I stayed home from school for those 2 days. The application was due in 2 days. I stayed home from school, and I cranked out, like, it was like 5, the supplemental essays. I already had my personal essay done, and all the rest of the Common App. So I cranked out the supplemental essays. What else was part of the interview? Or it was an interview later.
The interview was later.
But it was just the supplemental essays. So, like, just the supplemental essays. I mean, I was like, it's Harvard, they need to be perfect, right?
Right.
So
and they're also very different from other schools.
Very different.
I think sometimes you can, like, recycle essays for these. It was totally
It was
new.
very different. I remember one, it was like, what are 3 things your roommate would want to know about you?
What did you say for that? Your roommate.
Yeah.
I feel like I should know.
Oh my gosh, I should. We should.
We need to pull them up. Mine is really bad. Like, I look back and I'm like, this girl's weird. Like, I don't know why they thought I'd be a good roommate. Like, she's weird.
I don't know, but I wrote it in the perspective of, like, fast forward, so, like, we're reflecting on our time as freshman roommates, and, like, a flashback as if we're graduating, and, like, I was writing it in the perspective of, like, we'd already been roommates, and she would know XYZ about me. I think one of them is, like, I love to laugh. Like, that's one of my things. I was like, I love laughing. I don't know.
Wow.
I can pull it up.
That's a little cheesy, but that's really cute.
Very cheesy, but it was like, I was like, I have 2 days to get this done.
Yeah, it's
like,
a very unique take on it, right? Like, where you're thinking back to it, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I think I, like, really tried to, like, think outside the box for these essays. Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I was running ideas by, like, everyone I knew, like, especially my parents. Like, my parents, it was, like, a full-time job. We were, like, sitting down. I was like, okay, what do you guys think about this idea? And my dad was
you're
like,
pitching it.
Yeah, pitching this idea. And my dad was like, no, that sounds stupid. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was like a collaborative effort of like, okay, what topic, you sit down, you write it, and then they helped me a shit ton with the editing. So
yeah, well, I think with the application process, you have to be vulnerable. Like, you have to throw out different ideas and have a sounding board, whether that's your parents, your friends, or someone to be like, that sucks, or like, oh, that seems like you can create something from it.
Yeah, and it's nice knowing, like, because I think when you're your own person, like, you don't really think about yourself the same way that other people think about you, and so you may forget certain things about you that's like, oh, like, Sophia, like, this is really cool about you, and I'm like, I overlook it. I'm like, oh, really? Like, I didn't know that.
What was that for you?
I don't know. I mean, there were definitely a couple things where, like, my parents were like, oh, but Sophia, like, remember, like, you do this, or like, I definitely overlooked being an older sister. I was like, oh, but that's a given. And my parents were like, no, like, that's a huge deal, like, that you're an older sister. So that's one of those things where it's like, they help you see the whole picture of, like, who you are. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think for college application, like, building a narrative is really important. What did that look like for you in your essays?
Yeah. My narrative was definitely about how I moved around a lot, because, I mean, it really is, like, it's as cringy as it is, it truly is, like, it shaped me and my mindset. Like, I don't think I'd be the same person if I didn't move around. I think I moved around, like, 9 or 10 times in my life.
And you're not even
19,
20.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so,
crazy
yeah,
amount.
I think that was, like, a huge shaping aspect. And then also my, like, biracial, like, background. Like, I'm not just, like, oh, I'm German, like, twice removed, and, like, my great-great-great-grandparents, like, I'm directly Bengali and I'm directly German, and so maybe not my struggle, but my sort of, like, finding where I fit into each side, like, both of my sides of my family are very different, so maybe just, like, my balance of, like, those two was definitely a huge narrative that I played.
And then what was the worst part of your application?
The interview. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
Walk me through it. Like, how did they get in touch with you? Was it in person, online?
Yeah. So it was absolutely terrible, because I like, again, I submitted my application. It was like, I felt like it was BS. Like, I was like, dude, they're gonna see right through this. They're gonna be like, this girl doesn't know what she's doing. So I submitted it. I submitted it at like 11:34 p.m. Like, I was due at 11:59. My Wi-Fi went out 2 minutes later. It went out for like 10 minutes. If I would have submitted it any later, like, it would have been late. I wouldn't have been in the first decision round. And the entire time I was just like, this is terrible. Like, I never once thought in the entire application process I would get in. There was not a single hope. There was not, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. Yeah. There was not a single instance I was like, oh, but maybe. I was like, no.
You're, like, putting yourself through this pain and stress. And
yes.
You're like, nothing.
I remember writing these essays and be like, dude, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like, I was like, oh, whatever. I'll just, like, I'll do it. Like, make my parents proud. Like, I was like, and it was also just a sense of, like, I had so much doubt in myself, because, like, truly, like, my dream school was Michigan, and I thought I had a really good shot at getting into Michigan, so I was like, it wasn't like it's Harvard. It was like, it's okay if it doesn't work out.
Because I have another school I'm happy about.
Yeah, that I have a couple other schools, assuming I got in. But anyway, so yeah, it was the entire application process. I didn't think that I had a shot. And then, what was it? It was like it was just the interview, right?
Yeah.
It was just the interview. And then.
What question? Like, I don't know, what was
yeah,
the dynamic?
so I don't really remember how it went, but she was like, hey, like, let's schedule, like, hey, this is my name, like, let's schedule an interview. I was like, oh my God, this is a big deal. So my dad was like, whoa, like, this is a big deal. And we were searching it up. We were like, do all people get interviews? And it's like, no, not all people get interviews because it's like based on your area. So it's like they may not have an interview in, like, Colorado, but they definitely had a lot of people in the DMV area and, like, New York. I'm sure they had plenty. So I was like, oh my God, this is a huge deal. So my dad, like, ordered, like, the LED, you know, like, the stand that you have.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he ordered one. He was like, the lighting has to be perfect. And so the day of the interview, like, we'd been practicing, whatever, and, like, because I have 3 younger siblings and we're, like, 6 people in the house. Like, all my siblings left the house. They, like, went off to the playground, whatever. And it was me in the room, in the office. I, like, set up everything. It looked, like, pristine. I looked pristine. And I was like, okay, I'm ready for this. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait, like, it's supposed to start. And I'm like, okay, I'll just wait 5 more minutes. And she never came on. She just never came on. And so I was like, hey, I'm waiting here, like, no rush. I was just like, just want to make sure I didn't mess up the date or anything. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, I was doing whatever, like, I don't know. She was like, I was doing my groceries or whatever, and it completely slipped my mind. So, like, no worries. I was like, I get it, totally not an issue. So I was like, let's reschedule. And then I think we rescheduled another time. Like, I was, like, planning to do the interview, and she texted me at, like, 2 a.m. She was like, oh, shoot, I realized I'm busy, like, is there any way we can reschedule? So I rescheduled again. My actual interview itself was like, I just wasn't confident. I wasn't confident in myself at all. She asked me why Harvard, and I had, like, the dumbest answer. It was like, I don't even know what it was. I was just like, I really like Annenberg, and I love the campus. Like, I didn't talk about what Harvard actually has to offer. So it just didn't feel very, I was like, there's no way. Even, like, my dad was listening in through the door, and he was like, Sophia, you bombed that.
No.
He was like, my parents are both very, very supportive, but my dad was definitely like, yeah, that could have been better. And I was like, shoot.
Was that, like, a heart-sinking feeling where you're like...
It was just like, I just was disappointed in myself because I was like, I wish I could have done better and, like, set myself up for, like, more success, but, whatever, it ended up working out. So then when I got in, and even when I got I had no idea when the decision was going to come out. People were, like, counting down the days and the minutes, like, when is it coming out? And I, like, low-key forgot that I applied. Yeah. So it was like, oh yeah, like, decisions are coming out today. I was like, oh wait, really? I was like, okay. And I got an email in my inbox. It was like, your decision is ready. And I was like, ugh. And my mom was in Germany at the time, and so I was like, okay, like, that's fine. I told myself, I was like, you know, maybe there'll be another chance. So I went downstairs, I told my dad, I said, hey, my application's here. And I was just like, you know, maybe graduate school is for me. Like, you know, like, making the joke that, like, I'm not going to get in. So I didn't even record my reaction. My initial reaction is, like, in my head, I remember it so vividly, and I think that that's honestly more special than just having it recorded, at least for me. And I opened it, and I just remember seeing those, like, confetti and everything, and I just broke down in tears. And my dad, like, I remember he was, like, against the wall, and he just, like, slid down the wall, and he was just, like, yelling. Like, he was just like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh. And I was, like, screaming. I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, seeing my name, like, dear Sophia, congrats. Like, it was just surreal. Like, I was like, there was no way. This is a dream. I was, like, pinching myself. I was like, are you sure? Are you sure you meant me? And I was screaming. Like, we were, like, it was just me and my dad in my room. And my siblings came in, and they thought that, like, somebody had died. Like, they were scared. They were like, because we were crying. It didn't look like exactly excitement. Like, we were crying. We were screaming. Yeah. And they came in, and they were so scared. And it was a whole thing. And then my dad started recording or whatever, and I do have a video of calling my mom of, like, it was like 2 a.m. She'd just gotten off her flight 'cause she went to Germany that week to visit family, and I called her, and it was that I have that on call. But then a couple days later, my interview or whatever, she called me, and she was like, oh my goodness, congrats, like, this is awesome. Like, I've been doing this for, like, a few years now, and no one's ever gotten in. So I'm really surprised, but I'm really excited. And so basically saying, like, wow, I just never thought that you would get in. Like, it was a
Yeah.
very clear, like, I don't know if she was shocked that somebody got in or if she was just shocked that I got in.
You were the first one.
She was like, oh, you? But, yeah, whatever. I had no hard feelings. No hard feelings. So, yeah.
Okay, and then, yeah, I mean, I relate to that experience. Like, when my mom and I opened Harvard, my dad thought someone died.
Yeah.
And was, like, scared. Like, he woke up in fear, like,
Yeah.
something's not right, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. You know, it's a very euphoric experience. And how did it feel, like, the months after that? Like, I don't know, like, did your perception of what your future was going to look like
So
change?
different. So different. I mean, immediately I was like, this changes everything. I think, you know, obviously we don't want to inflate Harvard too much, but it is a unique opportunity, and not the reality is not everybody gets that. And so for me, I kind of shifted my perspective of like, I was blessed with this opportunity. I need to make it worth it. I need to be able to bring back something. It means nothing to me if I just use it, I'm selfish about it, and whatever. Like, I have to give back to my community. And so it really quickly became a sort of sense of like, it's a privilege. Like, it's not a given.
And with privilege comes great responsibility.
And it's a huge responsibility, you know, as an older sister, as a daughter. It definitely, I think I was putting a lot of pressure on myself too, like, wow, like I have to like live up to this expectation of like, I'm going to Harvard. And I actually didn't even know if I was going to go to Harvard, because I ended up finding out later that I got into the University of Michigan as well. And that for the longest time was my dream school. So I was on the fence till pretty much the last day of if I want to be at Harvard or at the University of Michigan. So yeah, I mean, but it was just surreal. And I also like I didn't really know anyone. It was senior year of high school. I had like 2 friends. And so I didn't go around telling people like, oh, I got into Harvard. Like, they don't know me. But yeah, so that was also different. It'd be one thing if like I was like, hey, I got into Harvard, and like I was with all the people who watched me grow over the years, like from freshman to senior year, of like, you know, you deserve this or whatever, like you put in the work, like we're so proud of you. Like, those same teachers weren't there, the same people weren't there. And so it was definitely a little different. I think in my head, I just knew like, it's just a year of this high school, and then I get to get out and like go to college. Like, Harvard aside, I was like, I just need to go to college. Like, I'm so sick of high school.
Yeah.
So it definitely changed the way I like looked at even just like my classes and my extracurriculars. It was such a blessing I didn't have to apply to colleges over winter break either, because I knew December 14th.
You were set.
Yeah. So it was definitely exciting.
And do you feel like that weight of being responsible to like give back has carried on with you as a Harvard student? Did it cause you stress being here at any point?
I think it's now shifted into this sort of like make the most out of it and enjoy the time while I'm here, but also like do what now I have the chance to sort of like let go and just do what I want to do, and like really just explore all my options. And we're so blessed that Harvard has so many opportunities. So I don't think it's like I don't think it's a responsibility now. I think now it's just like I'm very proud of who I'm becoming now because of what Harvard's given me, and then also just, you know, the people I hang out with. And I think ROTC is a huge aspect of like my perspective on Harvard in general is just a lot different because I'm going to be in the military 4 years after. So that also is an aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, can you briefly touch on how your experience differs with that? I mean, especially at Harvard, everyone's trying to, like, secure that, like, 6-figure salary job, high up, like, prestigious name.
Yeah.
Or going to grad school or continue your studies. How has your path or, like, your journey at Harvard been a little bit different from your peers, or, like, me, potentially, who are not planning to go to the military?
Yeah, I mean, for one, it's a guaranteed job. Like, regardless of what the job market looks like, regardless if whatever, if there's absolute chaos, I have a guaranteed job directly after college. So that's sort of just, like, a sense of, like, relief for me, is that I'm not trying to, like, crazy network and be like, I have to get this job. And I'm also obviously not going into, like, a consulting or, like, you know, some very intense, like, economics positions, or even getting my PhD. Like, I think if I weren't in ROTC, I'd be applying to PhD programs and trying to do that. But because I have that sort of sense of security of I'm going to be in Colorado Springs for at least 1 year, and then I'll either be in LA or Texas or Colorado somewhere again. In the military, it's a much different experience of even just the types of people I'll be with after college versus if I was, I've met so many seniors who are like, I'm going to be in New York City, or I'll be in DC. I'm like, so it's just like an extended Harvard, basically. So I think that definitely is a change in my perspective. I don't feel the pressure to apply to these like consulting groups or apply to certain groups that like feed into what you could possibly do or like secure an internship that like will grant me a job, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's definitely different. I think also ROTC just as a whole is a very humbling experience. Like I think it's the community, the people you're around with is truly something that I don't take for granted. Like we're all from Harvard, MIT, Tufts, Wellesley, so I also have like I know a lot of people across town as well, which exposes me to different types of people, and we're all just super high-achieving students, but at the end of the day, we're all united by our passion and our willingness to give back to the country and serve the country. So I think that's a very noble thing, and I think that definitely shapes who I am.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to serve, like, a nation, right? Like,
Yeah.
You're not just thinking, like, oh, what's going to look good on my LinkedIn,
Right,
like,
exactly. Yeah,
there's a bigger mission behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap up this interview, I guess if you were going to speak to, like, the 16-year-old version of yourself who is, dabbling in these activities, wasn't sure what the right direction was, never had Harvard on the radar, what would you tell yourself back then?
I think I would just stick to my life motto of everything happens for a reason. Truly, I would maybe tell her that, things are going to be hard, it's not going to be easy, but there's no right or wrong thing. There's only, if you make a decision, there's a way to make that decision right for you. There's a way to sort of maximize or see the benefits of any outcome of any decision or anything that you might think is the worst thing in the world and make it positive. So I think I would tell myself that, and then I think I would that's the thing, I don't think I would change anything. I don't think I'd be like, oh, Sophia, you should try this, or Sophia, you should really try this. Like, I wouldn't change a single thing. Obviously, that's good because I can't. But I wouldn't, if I did have the chance, I wouldn't do anything differently. I think every single mistake, every single grade, every single time I studied, every single interaction I had and made new friends and, was part of a new club or whatever, was a chance to learn and a chance to, learn from my mistakes and grow as a person. Yeah. So all those little things have shaped me to be who I am. And again, like, I'm not perfect at all. I'm far from perfect.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm far from perfect. But there's still so much beauty in that. And there's, Harvard and colleges in general don't want to see the straight A student who does every little checkbox. They want to see a person who has grown from mistakes and who has been able to get back up from hard times, from challenges. And I think if you're able to show who you are as a person, and if you're able to have that sort of mindset of almost like be better than Harvard or outthink these colleges, like, I don't need you. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm going to be fine regardless of where I end up, whether it's Harvard, whether it's University of Michigan, name any college, name any non-college. I'm going to be okay no matter what.
I just want to say I love that mentality because when it came to that, I grew up on the Upper East Side of New York City, and I remember I was babysitting, and there'd be these moms at the park, and they'd be like, oh, so where are you applying? And I was like, I think, like, maybe a state university, and they're like, oh, and they're like, oh, you should really know this by now, like, kind of a little bit demeaning, but I remember, like, telling them, being like, I know I'm gonna be fine, and I think having that confidence in yourself goes a long way, and this is beyond just getting into, like, top colleges, but just the way you navigate life.
Yes, like, your degree, what you choose, where you end up moving, what you end up picking your job to be.
Yeah.
It's applicable in so many different ways, but I tell myself all the time that the person I am, the people who support me, my family, my friends, like, that is my success. That is what fuels me, and no matter what I end up doing, because of the way I work and because of my, my skills and my motivation, I will be successful no matter what. I will make the most of any opportunity. So I think that's maybe I would tell that to my 16-year-old self.
Yeah, it's like, don't let other people give you the value. Like, see the value in yourself based on the input you can control.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me on the pod.
Well,
it was a pleasure having Sophia today. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, leave any comments on anything you'd like to see in the future, any specific backgrounds. But thank you for joining us for the very fourth episode. Bye.